Greetings, OSL friends and family. It's Pastor Heather with a devotion and a ministry update for you. I want to share with you a verse from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 8. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Once again, the leaves are changing and falling. The season of fall is certainly upon us. And whether you dread it or welcome it, we know that winter is not too far around the corner. But even for winter-loving folks like myself, I really do love winter. I think this year we all feel a sense of foreboding because this beautiful fall that we've been experiencing, while heavy with COVID stress and worry, has also been a gift. Being outside, talking to your neighbors, sitting with your friends, walking with a colleague in the fresh air with easy physical distance. Winter feels ominous because it brings less of those things, less of those options, but likely not any less of the imperative to continue to minimize our indoor, in-person contact. I myself am feeling the burden of responsibility to care for you and for our community by refraining from in-person gatherings, i.e. worship. And I also feel the burden of the needs we all have to feel and experience our connection to worship together. Pastor Sarah, Michaela, and myself, your virtual worship team, we've been doing our best to bring meaningful worship into your homes for these past 6 months. I really hope you are finding some ways to schedule worship viewing parties with your family, maybe with some close friends or neighbors whom you consider to be in your safe bubble, or maybe as a watch party with someone you can't physically meet up with. I really encourage you to find ways to experience and participate in our recorded worship services to help embody that sense of connection we all need. And while small groups are meeting in our church facility and outside in our parking lot, for the time being at least, the recommendations we continue to receive advise us even more emphatically now to refrain from in-person worship. Recommendations from the Wisconsin Council of Churches, from our synod, from our bishop, from the Dunn County Health Department, and from our own local medical professionals advise and implore us to refrain from in-person worship. And so, out of care for one another, this continues to be our collective sacrifice, which honestly breaks my heart. But I have learned that a heart broken open out of love and compassion and care, it is not a weak muscle. It is the very opposite, in fact. And if your heart is feeling a little broken too, I encourage you to remember why and specifically who you are caring for and loving. Every time you don a mask, every time you step 6 feet back, every time you turn on your computer for worship instead of driving over to the church, your heart is being broken open out of love and compassion and care. I find myself with my broken open heart these days, ever encouraged by the words of the prophets, like those words I first shared. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. I know that the prophets, like the writers of Isaiah, endured many challenges. They faced exile, imprisonment, so many losses, and their hearts were broken open time and time again. And they yet always found their footing in the promises of God. They found their identity in God's promises, and they experienced God's persistence to save, to forgive, to love fiercely, to redeem and bring new life out of every little death. As the grass withers, as the trees lose their colorful leaves, and as the flowers fade, God remains persistently present and at work in us and through us. And God's Spirit continues to connect us together through our prayers and our generosity in service and in our virtual worship. Whether we're dressed up as if sitting in the pew or wearing our pajamas, God is connecting us together. So hold on to the promise that we are bound together. And when your heart feels broken, may you know the strength of that muscle as it is broken open in love and compassion and care. Let me know if you found some creative ways to worship and foster a sense of connection. I would love to pass them on. For now, peace to you, my friends.